So one night we were outside in our backyard and we noticed at the same time a red grid that appeared above the city, maybe 20 miles away. It looked like it was coming from the sky down, and it was like infrared, and it was a perfect grid mapping out a certain area, maybe a mile square. Never seen anything like it before. It was gone as fast as it popped up, and we both looked at each other at the same time and said,
Red grid. It looked like it was a projection onto our whole city from the sky. Huge red grid. That's all it was. We there for a bit, gone, and then we just looked at each other and said that was like, we thought we were crazy.
We live in the suburbs outside of Phoenix, and it looked like it was a section of North Phoenix, North Scottsdale area that was being mapped out.
Is it extraterrestrial? Is it just something military? Is it Elon Musk? What is it? Help us figure out red grid, please.
Hi guys, I was terrified to post this, but I'm going to anyway. I took this shot this day because I noticed this big, long, black cloud in the sky, and I played with the lighting on it because I saw a guy on TikTok playing with the lighting on things in the sky and noticed that when I did, it still stood out. And guys, brace yourself for this. First of all, I'm going to apologize for the shaking and the glare of my filming, but I'm not techie, I'm not good with the camera, but I adjusted the lighting and decided to zoom in and film. And you guys, this is what was inside of this dark cloud in the sky on October 31st, 2022. Like, what? What is this? Do you see this? Can you guys see this? This is like, I was blown away, and I'm sorry again for the shake. I was literally shaking at what I was seeing. My eyes couldn't believe it. Look at this. Are you guys seeing this? I'm trying to get as close as possible as I can. This literally shook me to the core. This is supposed to be a cloud, guys. A cloud in the sky. Do you see? Look at this. This is absolutely unbelievable. This is like, I don't know, is it the inside of a ship? Look at all this structure. This is unbelievable. If you can zoom in even more, try to, because this looks like an entire city, or maybe the inside of a ship in the sky. You're never going to look at the sky the same ever again. These dark clouds are not clouds. They are cloaked ships. Look at this. There is a whole entire world inside of here. I don't even have the words. And you guys, look at this. It's like Star Trek in our sky. And this is not the only one that's like this. I've gone through my pictures. Some of them do not have this inside. It looks a little different, and some of them are exactly like this. And this is the wildest thing I've ever seen in my life. Look at that.
Oh
Oh my
my god,
gosh.
the most important thing. Why did I leave this for last? I should have made this the first thing. The grid in the sky. It was very obviously there. I did my research after, and I'm not the only person who experienced it, but I was laying on my back with my eyes closed, and when my eyes were closed, I saw all these colors and shapes and all that. And then as soon as I opened my eyes, there was a clear grid in the sky. It kind of looked like this a little bit. Just a little bit. Let me focus on this. This is the back of a tarot card. But think about this, but just, yeah, like that. But more symmetric, like extremely symmetric, none of those thin lines all over the sky. It was kind of like a dome. It was crazy, and I till this day can't really explain what that was. Like, I know what it is. We're living in a simulation. Honestly, for me, it could mean so many things. I'm not set on one thing. At the end of the day, I'm gonna die not knowing, so it doesn't matter. But I couldn't believe my eyes. Like, I would close my eyes, open my eyes, move around, look back up. The entire sky was covered in a grid. A very symmetrical grid. And it was like a pattern. My mind can't come up with something that perfect. Like, it was there. I could see it. And you should do your research on that, because it's very fascinating how many people see grids when they're hallucinating in the sky. Till this day, I honestly believe that grid
Hey
is there.
guys, I just wanted to do a quick drawing of the grid that I am seeing in the sky. I'm not a good drawer, but this was the best that I could do. It has shape. It is translucent and it's pixelated with colors. There's all these colors and they move all around, but it does form a shape. I started seeing this probably about 2 weeks ago, I would say. And the colors are getting more vibrant as these activations from the number synchronicities that are going on. So I just wanted to put this out there that this is actually what I am seeing in the sky. I hope it helps. Thanks.
I actually wanted to talk about an experience of the night sky I had. And basically about a week ago, after the storms, the sky was really clear, and I woke up at night and went outside because I was really hot. And we've got a really large south terrace, and I was looking up at the night sky, and basically I saw these interconnected, basically between the stars. I suddenly started seeing golden shimmering light interconnecting stars, constellations. Everything was connected. And then the strange thing was that, like a superimposition behind this grid work of interconnected stars and constellations, I saw other grid lines, some of them wavy, some of them going across. And whenever I looked into a section of the night sky, let's say the Milky Way, or just next to it, or towards the Pleiades that are for the moment to the east, somehow the whole thing got lit up, and I saw all these light shimmering grid works. So at the time a week ago, I thought, good grief, I must be very, very tired. So last night I went to bed fairly early, and I woke up incidentally at 3:03, and I thought I'd go outside to cool down, because I was I don't know why, for the moment I'm in big night sweats. And because also on the 11th of August, sort of the time window between the 10th, 11th, 12th, 13th, you also have the meteor shower coming from the star constellation of Perseus. In French you call them les Perséides. So I thought, oh gosh, I still haven't seen one single shooting star. My sister has seen loads, like huge, massive sort of shooting stars with with trails behind, flying, you know, across the firmament. So I thought, oh, maybe I want to see, maybe I might still see one of them, even though yesterday we were already the 16th, but you know, you have stragglers still. So I was looking up and I was completely sidetracked again from the shooting stars, although I saw one little shooting star. Again, I saw these interconnecting lines. So what I did, I was lying down on the terrace, although the flagstones were not as warm as a week prior. So I was actually quite cold in my flimsy nightie. But I was sort of lying down and looking up at the Milky Way that goes, as said, from northeast down to the southwest. And you have Mars right at the horizon. He doesn't really climb much. He travels from south to the west. But I was looking up and I was seeing again these interconnecting lines, and yet again, behind this gridwork of interconnection, again, like a superimposed negative, when you superimpose negatives or film reels or something, behind it were other golden shimmering sort of starlight, as if the stars had a golden shimmer, but it was far more, how can I explain? The lines felt, or these gridwork lines that interconnect, and behind the connected constellations and stars was another gridwork that was moving, it was alive. And so I was looking at that and I was thinking, okay, because the first time I thought, oh my gosh, I must be really tired. And this time I thought, well, this is fairly bizarre because I'm seeing the same thing. And whenever I concentrated again on a section of the night sky, it became alive again. I saw, of course, in the periphery of my vision, the rest being alive as well, but it seemed that the whole firmament was absolutely alive. So I wondered if anybody had seen something similar recently or not recently. As we know, everything happens.
Let's read some Glitch in the Matrix stories, part 139. Grid in the sky. Hi! I don't really know how to start this, but I've been trying to get this out for some time in hopes that someone could relate or expand on their own theories regarding this story. I really need answers because it still freaks me out. Thank you in advance. I'm like so intrigued right now. One night I was on the back porch stargazing and having a chill night in the dark by myself. I was living at my parents' house and obviously couldn't smoke inside, so I took pleasure in waiting until everyone fell asleep to finally get some alone time. Well, the specific night, while staring up in awe of the sky and having my normal epiphanies of life on Earth, everything was fine up until my phone died. I got up, walked inside, and plugged it in to charge in my room. It wasn't until I reached the back sliding glass door and opened it up to go outside when things started to feel very off. Now at this point, I knew that I've been smoking for a while, so it wasn't the weed just beginning to kick in, but I started dissociating really bad. It was like I stepped out of the real world into a virtual reality video game and nothing felt real. I'm not sure what the explanation was for the shift, but I sat back down anyways to try to shake it off because I didn't want to freak myself out. A half hour goes by and I start putting my stuff away to go back inside and lay down. It's about 12:30 p.m. at this point when I take one last look up at the stars. I blinked a couple of times, and while doing so, I started to see a full-on grid appear. I squinted my eyes, even looked away and then back again to see if my retinas were just messing me up, but it was real and it was there. My heart dropped and I shot up out of my chair with my mouth wide open, yelling in my backyard, "Does anyone else see this?" I completely lost my cool because I couldn't believe what I was witnessing. In the wake of all that, I immediately thought about that scene in Chicken Little where he told everyone the sky was falling but nobody believed him. So after being the neighborhood alarm, I sprinted inside to get to my phone to hopefully try to take a picture. I grabbed it off the charger, ran back outside, it was still there, and tried powering it on, but it was completely dead. 30 minutes of charging and nothing. I looked back up and it disappeared. I was so mad because it was one of those moments where I knew that nobody would believe me unless I had feasible proof or evidence, but through some strange coincidence, it didn't work in my favor. To my recollection, the grid appeared to have medium-sized interconnecting squares in a dome-like shape encompassing the sky in bright neon green. That's interesting. For some reason, I was picturing it as red. It was also fairly close to my view, kind of at the same level a bird flies, with a point in the middle where the lines got slimmer as they reached the top. It looked like a hologram that you would see in a movie or something. I definitely didn't feel like I was supposed to experience that, and for a couple of days after the fact, I had intense paranoia. Eventually, everything went back to normal, but I still didn't know how to wrap my head around it. It's been almost 5 years, and the crazy thing is that it wasn't what I was smoking, and I know that for a fact. Yeah, because this is my first instinct is like, you were high. Maybe it was like something was in whatever you had or something. I finished the rest of my stash in the following days after that without incident. So I know what I saw wasn't me going into psychosis or greening out. Okay. I was a seasoned stoner with an incredibly high tolerance. It's just weird because that shift that I felt when I opened the door disappeared the minute the grid went away. It felt like I was in a spiritual realm of some sorts. This is the sole reason why I believe firmly in the simulation theory. I've shared this story with a select number of people, including family members, that have immediately invalidated it. It would be nice to find anyone that has any information or has gone through the same thing.
This video footage you're about to see was taken by Rob Feather on June 26th at 1:30 p.m. in broad daylight. And you can see they noticed a white object in the daytime sky, and there's also other white objects up here in the sky. And there's something else that's not necessarily visible yet. I'll pull it forward here in just a moment. Rob said that he sees it. He was talking to another person that saw this object in the sky, and he just said right there that it's in broad daylight. The video was around 24 seconds long. That's what you're looking at right here. And then he shared 3 photos of the daytime sky from right here in this location. Maybe a couple at a slightly different angle, looking over here to the right and to the left. But it's what you can't see up here in the sky. You can see some power lines here in the foreground, and you see some white objects there in the background, and you see this larger white object here that appears to be moving in the daytime sky, but it's not. It remains in the same location, as do these other white lights. And you can kind of start to see these other what look like power lines in the sky, way up in the sky. And I don't think they're power lines because, again, this is a very rural community. You wouldn't need that many high voltage power lines running into this community. I understand that there's some that run across the country, but there are none in this location. I looked on Google Earth. There's the main power lines that run into the community and around the community, like you see right here, and that's it. And what we're about to see in this video footage, way up here in the sky, I don't think they're power lines. I've looked around Colcord, and I don't see any evidence of high voltage power lines running through the community. Just the basic power lines that you see right here. And I'm not so sure these things here are power lines. As you're going to see here in just a moment, these white objects, all of these white objects, appear to be attached to some sort of a line in the sky that's not necessarily visible yet. I'm going to zoom in close and show you guys these unusual lines in the daytime sky that were above Colcord, Oklahoma yesterday afternoon around 1:30. You can kind of start to see them right here. See them in the background? That's way too many lines to be power lines right here in this one location. I mean, this is a very small community out in northeastern Oklahoma of 750 people. You would need a whole lot of power lines to supply this small community's needs for electricity. So again, I don't think what we're looking at here, or you're going to see here in just a moment, are power lines. And the reason I say that is because I don't think these white things that we see up here in the sky that are clearly attached to some sort of a cable, I don't think their purpose is for aviation safety. These things are way high up in the sky. From this angle, they look like at least a few thousand feet up in the sky, maybe farther. And as you're going to see here in just a moment, you're going to see a long stretch right there. See those lines right there in the sky, spanning as far as you can see in that direction there, and then of course up here to the top of the photo. And you don't see any power poles off to the right over there supporting these power lines, if in fact that's what they were. See right there how you can see way off in the distance how far they go, and they're not evenly separated like you would think power lines would be, if in fact that's what they were. They're clearly not evenly separated. But watch up here in the upper left hand corner. See right there how I highlighted the lines that are over here in the left hand corner? There's 16 different lines right here just in this field of view. 16 going in all different directions. I don't think a community of 750 people would need this many high voltage power lines supplying their community with electricity. Here's the lines in the background that these white objects appear to be attached to. And here's the bright one that they were looking at. Here's the other white ones that we saw earlier. In fact, I'll take you back to the white ones right there. You can see the other white objects in the sky. They're attached to that cable right there. Almost look like a version of one of the Starlink satellite trains, but many Starlink satellite trains parked above Colquitt, Oklahoma in northeastern Oklahoma yesterday at 1:30 in the afternoon. Look at that. I don't think those are power lines. Where's the power poles that support those power lines? Those things look to be high up in the sky, probably, like I said earlier, a few thousand feet at the very least. And these white objects, I don't think those are for aviation safety, because those lines, whatever they are, appear to be, at least from this vantage point, very high up in the sky. Again, almost like a version of the Starlink satellite train parked up in the sky, but multiple versions of the Starlink. There's a line way down here at the bottom, one here, one here, one here. There's 6 here that you can just barely see. I had to do some heavy modifications to pull these lines forward because I noticed that these white objects appear to be in a straight line. Almost look like guitar strings up in the sky, or a version of mini Starlink satellites parked above Colquitt, Oklahoma, just sitting there in the daytime sky with these white objects attached to the very long cables, just like a Starlink satellite train that's spanned out halfway around the globe. That's what those look like to me, some sort of a Starlink, but I have never seen anything quite like that. And I don't think they're power lines because they're way too high up in the sky. So not quite sure what was going on above Colquitt, Oklahoma yesterday around 1:30. There's a pretty decent view of those things in the sky, whatever they may be. I don't know, don't claim to know. I know in that one segment there were 16 of those lines just in that specified field of view right there. Here, we'll count them. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 6 in the background that were hard to see, 7, 8, 9, 10, and then we come over here, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, and then there's one right down here, 16 lines right there. And in this next segment, I zoomed in on these lines and objects, whatever they were, above Colquitt, Oklahoma, yesterday afternoon around 1:30, and now we're going down to southwestern Florida in Cape Coral, where Erica shared 2 videos with me that were taken by her son of a very obvious large grid in the daytime sky as storms were rolling in above Cape Coral, Florida. And I'm going to let you listen to the original video as her son was very emphatic about what he saw in the sky when he noticed this large, very obvious grid. Here we go.
Wait, bro. What the? Bro, you ain't tripping, bro. There's a grid in the sky, bro. What? Wait, bro. What the? Bro, you ain't tripping, bro. There's a grid in the sky, bro.
Okay, there was a witness with him. A friend also noticed this obvious grid. Here's a second video, and you can see what doesn't look like a natural cloud in the sky. There was something there that just looked out of place. It almost looked like it came from intelligent origins. Just doesn't look natural. That's how they noticed it. It looked like it was intelligently designed. It did not look like a random cloud in the sky. This is the original video. Here I zoom in and I slightly enhanced the video to try to pull forward the already obvious lines in the sky that were forming rectangles that ended up forming what looked like a very large grid. Here it is in a negative format. Light is dark and dark is light. Very obvious pattern in the sky that does not look like random clouds. Again, here's another enhancement, and you can see what look like large symmetrical rectangles in the sky forming some sort of a very unique, what looked totally out of place, large grid in the sky above Cape Coral, Florida.
Case file number 673, written by StarCraft 1160, The Grid in the Sky. A couple years ago, I believe, maybe it was early last year, I was riding in the passenger seat of my car while my boyfriend drove. It was mid-morning, sunny, and not a cloud in the sky. Then it appeared. A grid suddenly appeared above my windshield. The best I can describe it is like a grid paper you'd use in math class, but all you could see were the multiple lines in black. Besides that, I could still see the sky and road around it. I even leaned forward in my seat to look up, and it went on just as far as I could see, like the world was in a grid paper. And just as suddenly as it appeared, it was gone. I'm going to say it stayed for maybe 3 to 5 seconds tops. I asked my boyfriend if he saw it, which he did not. Has anyone experienced anything like this? I think about it all the time since it happened. I can't explain it. Case notes for file 673, A Grid in the Sky. So this is the second grid story I've personally narrated, although I've read at least a dozen at this point. It's pretty common, although how common exactly is debatable. Still, I would say that it's one of those glitches that does reoccur quite often, enough that it's a pattern, and it shouldn't be dismissed. Now, it is interesting that your boyfriend didn't see it, while you did. So now this is another one of those glitches that is perception-based. Something in our minds has to be wired just right for us to be able to see this grid in the sky. It does strike as some sort of coordinate system, right? It would be a 2-coordinate system if it's a flat 2D plane. Still, it is an incomplete representation of our universe, which is in 3 dimensions as we perceive it. Well, 4 if you include time, but that's a side issue. In terms of physical location, where you could be in any given time, outside of time, it's 3 dimensions. So you would have a cube space grid instead of a flat plane that you'd see in the sky. Now, is this evidence of the simulation? I would chalk it up towards yes, even though it's an incomplete representation. It's not the full picture, and I don't know why some people are able to see it and others can't, but I would chalk this up as further evidence that we live in some sort of simulation, either as a video game or some sort of test. But this reality as we perceive it, let's just say that there's more to it than we can perceive easily. Let's go with that. Case file number 327, written by Edelia, looking at the sky with her boyfriend, and she sees the grid. I have to start this off by saying there were absolutely no drugs or alcohol or anything of that kind involved. We were sober as one can be. Okay, so this was about 2 years ago, not last summer, but the one before that. Me and my boyfriend, 24 and 25 at the time, went to visit his grandma in the countryside for a few days. One night, probably around 8 p.m., we went into the garden to relax and look at the fireflies that were starting to show up. The sun had set, but the sky was still a pale blue, not really dark yet. Grandma has a bed outside in the garden, used basically as a couch, so we decided to just lay there for a while. At one point, probably just a few minutes later, I noticed very clearly a pale, white, grid shape in the sky. Wondering what the hell I'm seeing, I start asking my boyfriend, "Do you see?" And he cuts me off. "The grid? Yeah." So it's not like one influenced the other. We both clearly saw it. We joked around that the sky is fake and we are in the Matrix, etc. We often have Matrixy experiences, so it wasn't really anything shocking. But this has honestly been the cherry on top of everything else. I don't remember thinking of taking a picture, or maybe we thought it wouldn't be visible enough and that it's pointless to even try. Not sure. But we kinda just accepted it and shrugged it off, had dinner and went to bed. 2 years later, and I've never seen it again, and I've tried. We mention it now and again like, "Hey, remember the grid?" "Yeah, I haven't seen it either," etc. I love looking at the sky in general. Clouds, shapes, colors, stars, whatever it may be, and yet I still never saw it again, not even a glimpse. I tried to find similar cases online, but for some reason, I only found people on drugs like psychedelics, seeing grids and honeycomb shapes in the sky. But as I said before, we were very much so sober. Every time I remember it, I really don't know what to even think or how to feel. Why haven't I been able to see it again? What could it be? I've been theorizing it's a force field, or maybe a projection of sorts, and the sky isn't really real. I don't know, but I hope someone sober has seen it as well, and can maybe shed some light.
Hello friends, welcome back. Today I'm going to be sharing another dream that I had with you. It was absolutely a very bizarre dream. If you are the kind of person that is good at interpreting dreams, please let me know, because I'm not. I mean, I can make guesses, but I'm not the kind of person that's good at interpreting. So to start, have you ever seen the movie Logan's Run? There's a part in the movie where they get out and there's like waterfalls that are, it looks almost like a dam where the water is coming over different plateaus of concrete. I was in a place kind of like that, and I was hiding kind of underneath one of them from maybe soldiers. They weren't really dressed in soldier clothes. They were dressed both the same, like a monetary color. I think it was like a maroon color. And they were just chatting. They obviously didn't know that I was there. They did have weapons, like a gun, like a big gun kind of on their back. I was running and hiding, and there was like nothing in the world the same. Like that was kind of the normal. There were a certain group of people that were constantly hiding and running, and another group of people that were either like a military type person or a person that would turn you in. So I was one of the people who was running and hiding, and I did that until it got dark. When it got dark outside, I noticed in the sky was like a grid. It had a grid on it. The only way that I can explain it is like back in grade school, I would say the 80s and 90s. I don't know if they still use these, that's why I say that. They had like a projector, and it was like the actual projector was in the back of the room, and it had like a little table that had light coming up through it, and it would project onto the wall in front of the class. And you had like these clear papers or plastic sheets with something on it, or you could write on them, and you would put it on the little platform with light, and it would project it. Okay, so it kind of looked like that. Like it wasn't three-dimensional in the sky. It looked like something that was projected, and it was grid work. And in between, like where the square grids met, there was a bird, and they were like one-dimensional, flat. They almost look like how you would picture like an origami bird, like somebody made out of paper, with just basic triangle wings and the little body, and all of the wings were out. So each one of the points where they met had a bird. And every night when this grid would come up in the sky, some of the birds were becoming three-dimensional and were moving. So you could see that they were moving, and that was astonishing. I remember feeling like I was shocked at the grid itself, just baffled. What is this? How, I knew it had to be the government somehow. And I remember feeling like, does anybody else see it? Like they must be able to see it, but not everybody was reacting to it. I think that that's part of why I felt baffled. So, like I said, each night when they would put it up, I think it was maybe around the third or fourth night of this grid in the sky, in the night sky only, some of the birds became so three-dimensional, they were actually moving and looked more like how you might picture kind of a gargoyle with arms and legs and wings. But they were black. Everything was black. The birds were black. Just like it could have blended in with the night sky very easily. So you couldn't really see a face on the gargoyles. And I say that only because they had arms and legs and wings. They look like a person with wings. And how they carried themselves, how they were holding their arms and their legs, kind of reminded me of like a gargoyle. And I definitely had the impression that they were demons. And they were kind of moving down off of the grid and getting closer. And I remember feeling like something was getting ready to happen that would be like catastrophic. And at that point I started praying.
Right, and another little oddity that's just so happens to happen about a month ago when I was doing night shooting. And I get this. What the hell is this shit? To me, that looks like a hologram grid. Well, as you can see, you can zoom in and out. There it is there, it's gone. You can see it there, coming up. There we go there. What the hell is that shit? I've looked it up, and it's something called Murray's pattern, I think it is. Well, I've been doing photography for 10 years now as a hobby. I'm an amateur, you know. I do some decent stuff, you know, produce some fine imagery. And this year I've come across this pattern. It is a completely new phenomenon to me, and I can't figure out why it happens, but I know how it's supposed to work anyway. It's where two different images coincide to produce a pattern with two lights or something. But I've never encountered this before, and I've looked at all the science literature on this subject. I am really puzzled by this one. I am scratching my head in total confusion here. Why have I not heard of this pattern? You know, I mean, Murray's pattern, I would have heard it by now. 10 years I've been doing it. Maybe it's a unique phenomenon to this reality, I don't know. Who knows? Like I said, this has been totally weird. See, there you go there. Well, sorry for the bad imagery, but you can still see the grid pattern. Oh no, it looks like a dome like that. You know, the way I see it. You know when you look at a, for example, like a bowl. You know, on top of the table, you know, like that. And you get like a dome shaped type thing. You know, like that Jim Carrey movie.